pick this music. And when they go with that kind of music, they change. I'm like, Aerosmith. Dude looks like a lady, really? All right, who says President Obama doesn't create jobs? This week alone, he created jobs for several 100,000 illegal immigrants by instructing the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency to look the other way with arrested illegals. And today, GE announced that they're creating thousands of jobs in China. Greg, I saw the story in the Washington Post. I said, we have to talk about this tonight. GE creating jobs, airline jobs, no less, building airliners in China. Meanwhile, the NLRB in South Carolina is trying to make sure we lose those jobs, making it almost impossible for Boeing to build in South Carolina.
I am outraged. Not really. Look, I'm for trade. I think it's a good idea. I know we have a $270 billion trade deficit, but whenever we work with other countries, they get to know us more, we get to know them, and business is good all around. So I can't get worked up about it.
Robert, Jeff Immelt heads GE. Here's a guy who shipped more than 20,000 jobs over his decade heading GE over to China. Closing jobs here, opening them up in China.
Okay, can I just say that...
What happens to be jobs are for Obama?
Just so our audience understands this, we have a phone call every morning at 10 o'clock talking about what we're going to talk about. And this morning, what did Eric want to talk about? Coca-Cola is going to put a bottling plant in, and we dropped that. I noticed you dropped that. Why? Because I informed you that they make Coca-Cola in the places where they sell it. Now, in this case, they are using flight simulators, which are built in the United States by American workers to train Chinese pilots. Now, is there anything wrong with that?
Yes.
It's built in the United States.
The part where you said Chinese workers. See, I prefer, Dana, American workers.
No, I said, no, what are you, deaf?
No, I heard exactly what you said.
I said they build it here with American workers.
No, he said Chinese workers.
No, I didn't.
That's where
I've had enough trouble with Chinese things.
Bob, apologize to deaf people.
I was wondering what that whirring was, if it was the black helicopter swirling
up
above.
Oh, come on, Dave. Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. I think on the immigration thing, I think that everybody should take a step back. I mean, that was we should not oversimplify that situation. I also think when it comes to supply and demand, Americans need to learn a little bit of something. Companies go where the jobs are. I don't disagree with you on the NLRB issue and Boeing, and I think the Obama administration, by being silent from the White House on it, has a significant problem, and that if you have a company that wants to build planes in America, they should be allowed to do that without union influence telling them that they can't. But I just can't get worked up about this. And on the Coca-Cola thing, if you look at a company like GE, even though I think the jobs are idea was a bad idea, Coca-Cola is a really, it's good for our diplomacy.
Right.
It's the second most recognized word in the world after okay.
Ange, I know you want to get in here, but before we go, we have to stay on China a little bit. Joe Biden spent the last couple of days throughout China, Japan, etc. But at one point he said, a quote, this is a quote from Joe Biden, "Your policy has been one which I fully understand." And he's talking about the one child in China policy. Boy, off-base, delusional. This guy's a Catholic. How can he come and say something like that?
Right. Well, there's always been the cognitive dissonance between the Catholic Democrats and abortion. But I do think that we've seen this before. When Hillary Clinton goes to China, they're hamstrung in a lot of things that they can actually say because they hold a lot of our debt. And so, yes, he gaffed when he said this one-child policy. He agrees with it. I would say, though, this is a real issue for China. I mean, they're heading into serious, uncharted demographic territory. They have 32 million more boys than women under the age of 20. How are they going to take care of the aging population? You look at all the cultural impacts of this, too. There's going to be prostitution on the rise. I mean, you have 32 million Chinese men and not substantial women. And a quick point just on this, on the companies, I will say I actually do agree with Bob on this one, too. I think it's good when we export our stuff. It doesn't look good for the White House, but let me tell you something quickly.
Don't export jobs.
Piracy is the real issue, because if they start to steal our sensitive technology, we are screwed.
Let me go back to the Biden thing. I think that he was trying to be polite, but it's hard to be polite about a policy that basically kills millions of unborn females. But I don't think he meant it that way. He was just. You just shouldn't be. You shouldn't even address that.
Did not say,
no, I think he was.
Know what the policy.
Wait a second.
I think he was trying to be polite and he was trying to get by it. The big problem here is American feminists who somehow think pro-lifers are more of a threat than this kind of practice.
The kids, just wait a second. I'm sure Andrew doesn't. I think she She misread that a little bit. He never said he supported. He said, I understand it. But he said just what you said. He said, you're going to have a real problem here because you have too many young people. Can I go back and tell you a little bit of just a little history on China on this thing? This goes back decades. Why? Because China was overpopulated. It could not feed its own people. The one-child policy was there because kids were dying in rural areas. They couldn't feed them. That was
Can I read this? Pull up the Obama administration quote. The Obama administration today making, I guess, amends for Mr. Biden. They said, quote, the Obama administration strongly opposes all aspects of China's, all aspects of China's coercive birth limitations policy. The vice president believes such practices are repugnant.
Would you guys please stop apologizing for everything?
No, I wish that the White House didn't feel like they had to put out that statement. I think that Joe Biden didn't mean it to come across the way that he did. I think that the media and others have run with this in the wrong direction. There's a difference between saying, I can understand it, because just like as Bob, you can look back and go, okay, I can understand what they were thinking. I don't agree with it, but you can understand it. There's a big difference there.
A much bigger difference.
I just think that we ought to let it all go.
I don't understand why the White House feels compelled.
Right.
When Joe Biden explained himself, he said, I understand it, but it's going to get you in a lot of trouble. Right. And it was a policy that was instituted to save kids' lives.
Clearly, the White House felt they needed to clarify Joe's thoughts. All right, before we go, can we show that picture real quick? Send us the 5@foxnews.com. You can caption contest this. Go ahead, send us some captions. We're going to read a couple of them maybe later on in the week. Tell me what you
that's
think.
Bob on the left, and that's Eric on the right.
Fine. Coming up, 45 million Americans on food stamps, and 1 out of every 3 homeowners say their home is now underwater. Welcome to the Obama economy. That's next.